Clinical trials are extremely important for patients with T-cell lymphomas. These are rare diseases, and the treatments are not well established. In fact, there is no even standard of care how to treat patients with T-cell lymphoma, whether when it's diagnosed or comes back. And it's so hard to study these malignancies because we cannot really get enough patients with certain types of cancer on clinical trials and come up with sensible data and sensible clinical trials to develop new treatments. But this is changing. The collaboration with different institutions in the last 7-10 years really made a difference for these patients. Current patients of today, are having much better chance of achieving response to treatment and curing their lymphoma than if they go to standard treatments. When we analyzed a lot of trials and a lot of patients in the last decade, we came to the conclusion that the treatments that were developed for a very long time for lymphomas work very well for B-cell lymphoma patients and not so well for T-cell lymphoma patients, and majority of T-cell lymphoma patients will relapse after initial treatment. And once they relapse, it's very difficult to put lymphoma back in remission. In the last couple of years, there are patients that failed multiple treatments and were courageous enough to enlist in the clinical trials with excellent responses that allow them to go to definitive treatment and ultimately save their life. In the last 5-7 years, there are a lot of diagnostic techniques that allowed us to diagnose these patients accurately, and that is why we see more and more cases of T-cell lymphoma, not because there are more cases around, but diagnostic techniques are much better. We have 4 new drugs on the market in the last 5 years for patients with these rare disorders, and we're really starting to change those survival statistics because these drugs were developed specifically for these patients, tested in this patient population, and we ran them all the way to the approval in the United States and now all around the world. Some of those agents are extremely effective, and in fact, they're producing responses and durations of response to therapy that we only have been seeing with combining a whole bunch of different chemotherapeutic drugs together, or even better. So the situation is changing, and I think that the future for patients with PTCL is very bright.